I think it would be the first time I entered a full choir rehearsal at Mommy's place. It was something else. Whilst entering, I was hearing the good harmony of voices, and then when I entered, and I saw the whole choir. I was just blessed to be part of such a wonderful group.
My most memorable experience was the first time HC took me to South Africa. Yes. The first time I sat in the plane, and then the plane was going up. I was like, I think I was beside Lena. She gave me updates me everything that will happen. So I wasn't, at first I was feeling scared, but then I was like, wow, through Harmonious, I'm able to, go to South Africa. Wow.
Mine will be auditions, and also the first time I sang a quartet on stage. Yeah, those are my memorable moments.
I remember in 2010, we were on our way to Kumasi, and I think it was during the World Cup at that time, and we were giving director pressure that we want to watch. So we parked in Konongo, and we watched the famous Asamoah penalty, and he missed the penalty. And I remember from Konongo to Kumasi, nobody said a word in the bus again. The whole bus was so quiet. It's like everybody was angry and nobody could explain. So we're all quiet. When we got to Kumasi, we all went to sleep. We didn't even go for supper that day. Everybody went to sleep. And it was such an exciting. And I remember also when I was in Legon, I think level 300, one of my exams, I had a paper the following day, and the previous day we had a program in Ebri. Myself and Eddie, we said we'll go, and then we went for the program. So when I came, I decided to do some night studying, and I studied English, not knowing I had linguistics the following day. And I got to the venue with my English mowing, and when I saw the paper, it was linguistics. I will never forget that day. The things I wrote on the paper. It was just God. But I had a B- in that paper. And it was a surprise. I just wrote pure gibberish. It's like the Holy Ghost marked the paper for me. So, yes, I remember that day.
I have a couple of them. But the first one was when we were preparing for our 5th anniversary concert. We did launch of the anniversary concert and then Night is Soloist. And somehow, I was featured as a soloist during that concert. In fact, I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't prepared. I didn't see that coming, but they gave me the platform. My director gave me the platform, and after the performance, I got a standing ovation, and that was something else to me. And then the second thing was when we did Messiah, the full Messiah performance, and I did Trumpet Shall Sound. And after that, I got a standing ovation from the crowd at the National Theatre. And that brought tears to my eyes because I wasn't expecting something like this. Normal person who knows nothing from nowhere gets a standing ovation at the National Theatre. That is great.
I wouldn't forget the very first time Harmonious Chorale was built for an event. It was a charity event. This should be in 2011, probably a week or two before the much anticipated oratorio creation by Harmonious Chorale. And we got there. It was a fundraiser for an orphanage. We got there, the whole auditorium was set, and the only people who were there to witness the concert were those who were supposed to raise funds for. And the room was virtually empty. And one thing the director told us was that, look, forget about the room being empty. We are here to do our work. Let's put in an all. And that day, we sang like something else. And it was marvelous. It was really marvelous, yeah.
The most memorable moment with Harmonious Chorale, actually, let me say in my life with Harmonious Chorale, is traveling outside Ghana. Actually, I've never traveled outside Ghana before. It's through Harmonious Chorale that I was able to travel to Rwanda for the first time in my life, and it was really a memorable moment for me. And I really appreciate that.
The memorable experience. When we traveled to Cote d'Ivoire, we had Abidjan by night, also went to SA. And it's always fun with Harmonious Chorale, even on stage and everything. So being with Harmonious itself is memorable, everything.
One that quickly comes to mind is an experience in South Africa, right after a performance. I left my phone in the washroom in South Africa, and I was scared someone would steal it, so I had to run back to where we had the performance. When I came back, I felt sick, just like that, because I was running in the winter, which I've never been used to. Thanks to Harmonious Chorale, I experienced winter.
I'll say my most memorable experience, I actually have two. 2016 in Cote d'Ivoire, the experience was out of this world. And I would say South Africa as well, in 2018. Those two trips were incredible.
That will be preparing for Joseph and his brethren, because that was the only time I questioned why I joined Harmonious Chorale. It was tough. It was very challenging, but the output was marvelous. So it remains one of my most memorable experiences in Harmonious Chorale. And of course, World Choir Games in South Africa. Can't take that one out.
Joseph and his brethren. I think it's one of the concerts that's really showed me that God is always with me on stage, because I think after the time that we went for camp, I was not prepared. And I could tell that my director was very disappointed somehow. And it was one thing I never ever wanted to happen, but I think the end result was also marvelous. So yes, Joseph and his brethren. And then World Choir Games.
I would say it's in 2011 when I did my first major oratorio with the choir.
When the choir won the World Choir Games in South Africa, category C28, yes. I think that was my most memorable moment.
Director gave me a song to try. The title of the song was In God's Land. And when I tried the song, everybody was surprised. And Amanda gave me money. Yeah.
That was when director introduced us to the family. And when I stood in front of the rest of the family for the first time, I think that was
So it was during rehearsal, one rehearsal. I was going through a lot, so I was very down when I was coming for the rehearsal. And when I got there, the director just said that today, for a few minutes, we are going to share testimonies, and then we sing each of our favorite songs. We sang hymns, and some of the songs were so inspiring and they were very encouraging. So that moment, I even did some at my church. It was very powerful. I cherish it a lot. The choir helped me through that.
Most memorable has to be my first camp, preparing for mixed oratorio. That must be my most memorable moment. It was the first time I had ever had to study music with a group of people, for an extended period, and very seriously too. So that's one thing I'll never forget.
When we had the Heaven concert, it was so different for me. I felt different. It was spirit-filled. I think it's one of my most memorable days. Yeah.
The first Arts Day was the first time that I didn't join the choir. So I watched the choir minister, and ever since, it's wonderful watching the choir minister. It's a different experience than being part of the choir.
Memorable one, I'll say the 2012 Pre-Easter concert. For me, it's been I'll say the number one for me in the choir. You could tell the whole atmosphere was filled with God's Spirit, and not just the auditorium or not just the audience, but the choruses as well. Everyone was in spirit.
That was Benin. When we were coming all the way, I had to go back to the office the next day. Unfortunately, we had to stay in a bus and we got missing. We had to come back and then come back to the normal route to Accra, and that was, I didn't know what to tell my boss getting to the office because I told him that I was coming on Monday. And I also didn't tell him I was there traveling.
I think Ivory Coast trip, that's 2017.
Yes, Abidjan by night.
Yeah, Abidjan by
Yes.
night. We went for a party and then I was in the bus and someone threw up on me.
Yes, that was funny.
my most
Yes, it was such an experience in Abidjan.
Yeah, it was. I think for me too, it was very memorable.
Well, I would say some of them, for me personally, will be the beginning of my journey in the choir. When I joined the choir, very new. The first rehearsal was like a concert. It's like they were just singing, rehearsing, and it sounded like they were having a concert. I was just amazed of what the choir could do at that time. I mean, some of my precious memories are from then. Yeah.
Personally, I'll say OTOT. I opted to do poetry, and the training process till the very day I did the poetry on stage was a whole experience for me. And I think it's a memory that I'll cherish a lot.
Yeah, I will also say OTOT. I remember the three tenors, we did one song together, and it has been something that I always look back to look at. Yeah.
I'll say Heaven. Heaven. At that time, we didn't sing, but we were part of the dances. So we danced on stage. So that was first time for me to be on stage with Harmonious Chorale, and also to dance in front of like the whole audience and the people there. So it was a very good experience.
My most memorable experience in the choir is OTOT, where we had a female choir and I had to be one of the organists. It was a challenging song and director challenged us to learn it, and that was the most memorable because I remember the feeling on stage, getting to play and accompany the choir. I will never forget that experience.
I think we went on a trip. I traveled with the choir to Poland, and when we entered the hall, we realized we were the only blacks in the hall, and there were only the hall was full with white people, and they kept touching your hair and all that. And I felt privileged, I felt humbled, and I felt good to be part of the choir, and it was a great experience for me. It was a memorable experience for me.
For me personally, especially with the category of the African folklore, you see, I was able to help the choir get the gold awards through the scenic folklore. And I was so much surprised what the Lord had used me to do, because this isn't something that I had learned in school or something. I just picked the score. My director, the whole choir trusted me. They obeyed every step that I directed. And I was marveled by the end of the day when we took the gold award and won the category. So for me, for a lifetime, it's going to be something I'll cherish forever.
Particularly for me, I couldn't believe for once in my life that I could do any other language apart from music, in English, when it comes to singing. But in Ivory Coast, just recently, I did then and Yamin singing in French. The choir was marveled. In fact, I was marveled as well. So
and the audience were crying.
In fact, it was one of the best moments of my life in the choir. Yeah.